All right, good morning, everyone. It's Trader Rob. We are live on YouTube. Let's, man, what a big gap on the NQ and the ES overnight. That 5 o'clock open yesterday was pretty insane. Nice, really big gap here. So, name of the game today, one is going to have to be patience because of the fact that since we had such a huge gap overnight, we're not going to have much price action to follow volume in this kind of dead zone right here. So there's going to have to be a little bit of patience here this morning. But let's start off with the ES. So some areas that I am interested in. Morning Spence, morning Joe, morning Mike. Emery, welcome to the market, to the Signal group. Best thing would be is to make sure you join my Discord. send me a DM with your YouTube username, and I'll get you set up. All right, let's start off with the ES here. Let's just see where this places it on our. All right, so this is the origination of the gap. So as I've mentioned a few times, especially last week, you know, your area where you flew, where price action flew from, is right smack here. Right here is the origination of the gap. I personally don't feel like that's a great, you know, we might get a reaction here. I'm going to leave this shaded just so that we can kind of see what occurs when we get down here. But just based on my years of trading this, these big gap areas, headline news, high impact news, those big explosive moves out of those areas don't seem to hold up very well. So underneath that, we've got an area right here, which sits at the 67.64 down to the 67.45. Let me see what we got brewing there. Not much. Not much that I like there. There's nothing there that I like. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to delete that area. Morning, Patty. This is going to be a tricky, it's going to be a tricky morning. Like I said, today is going to be a day of patience. Let's take a look at the NQ. So the NQ, remember, we still got this setup sitting down here at the 25,449, targeting the 25,456. And then let's see what if there's anything here new. So that sits right here. The NQ's got a nice little volume pocket at the 25,744 down to the about 710s. And then now let's hone in on that area. Let's see if there's anything there that is of interest to me. Okay. Decent. The only issue, we got a pocket right there that I'd be interested in, but we also got a pocket right here that I'm interested in. So these two shaded areas we should see some reaction to, but you got the two setups that are very close to each other. So the fear here could very easily be you tap into one and you might get a run down to the second pocket of unbalanced volume. So that is a small concern, but I'm going to map this one out. Our first TP is kind of, it's not the greatest. Unfortunately, that's way too small. But let's put this in here. Nope, not an entry. It's going to be a TP. Entry would sit right around here. All right, so the entry would be sitting at the 25,749. Get rid of that. This would be our stop. And then TP2, again, doesn't look the absolute greatest. It's a tiny trade, man. It's tiny. Let's jump down to the 5. All right, so this first setup, man, this first TP, it just doesn't look good. It looks like shit. We got an entry at the 25,749, 753. I mean, that's 4 points, less than 4 points. It's just not. It's not worth it. And we are going to see a reaction most likely on the from the entry. We want to rebalance. And then if I delete TP1 and make 25,756 my first TP, I'm going to start to see some resistance there that I don't like. Not the greatest. Not the greatest. Let's see what else we can... After that, the next area is where this gap originated from, right around here. And that doesn't interest me. It doesn't interest me at all. Like I said, I think we might need to stay patient here. And see if we might get a different type of move, either hopefully to the upside, because there is a bunch of volume sitting right here, but nothing that's tradable right now. And then in situations like these, where the setups aren't very clear, you can drop down to the lower time frame and start to find 3-4 setups, but then they start becoming less and less quality. So I'd rather wait for something that looks very, very enticing to me than just jumping in a trade to jump into a trade. So one of my Discord members created an indicator for me for the IB high and low, which so far I'm really liking. So once 930 comes, which is your initial balance, these lines will then stay stationary at the IB high and low. And I did not run into any type of error, so I don't have any conflicts with any of my other indicators, which my previous opening range, I'm sorry, my initial balance indicator was giving me like a brush error. So far I love it. Key, good morning. Mike, good morning. Clint Eastwood, good morning. Hanek, good morning. Joe, good morning. So unfortunately, we're gonna kind of have to sit on our hands here for a little bit and see if price action decides to do something interesting here. And if I was to map this section out right here, I just don't want to put the lines in right now because I don't want to... I don't want to start confusing people, because you're going to start kind of overlapping my stop loss here to my TPs. But my entry on this secondary setup looks something like that. At the 25,733. Top Step Randy. I mean, I haven't encountered anybody ever having an issue joining the Signals group through mobile. The only reason I don't recommend it, I actually recommend joining through the Discord. Windows or Mac desktop application, is that on mobile you do get charged some extra fees for using the Apple and Google Play subscription service. So they add on their additional fees, which you don't pay with Discord. So the easiest way is that. I've never had anybody run into an issue because I've seen many people sign up through mobile. So I don't necessarily know exactly what your issue might be there, but my recommendation would be just to join right straight through Discord. All right, let's take a look and see what areas the NQ's interested in here. Oh, we got some walls forming. So the 850s right now is the only pocket that I'd say that they're very interested in. Oh, there's a few pockets above us, but they're going to want to tap into that. The 860s, which is pretty much your IB high, well, initial IB high right now. And then after that, it's the 67s. 67s right there. So these are all unbalanced volume areas that they want to come after. Pretty much tapped into that one right there at the 25,850s, pretty close. And then to the downsides, it's the 25,800s. So pretty much right underneath the current IB low. Those could be a lot of stops right there. A lot of stops right there. Anybody take that ES trade I left you guys with on Friday? That was a beaut. That was a really, really, really nice one. I actually ended up taking the IB trade on Friday. Once we, if you guys remember, price action on that one We swept pretty much all the unbalanced volume right above the IB high, which I think I had marked off with a circle. And just a really sharp rejection to the downside. And got my 15 points. Just took it on my Iron Beam futures account. Actually, I only ended up taking that one with, I believe, 4 micros or 5 micros. So I think I made about 130 bucks there. So again, the 25 800s, they did conduct an auction right here. Now they might want to dump the auction off at the 25 800s. They still have 2 pockets sitting above them that they're interested in. And if we jump over to the ES, some areas for the ES to look out for is the 6890s. So it's right here. Big fat volume sitting right there. So this is an area that they're gonna want to either open or close an auction off there. And then to the downside, there's not too much right here. So 6870 is an area that they're interested in. So they've got to play. I mean, they've got an auction that they can run with. This seems like the cleanest play for them right now. In my opinion, I would sweep this and then finish off the auction right there. But as I said in the beginning of the stream, you just got to be patient today, guys. You got to be patient. Don't force setups. Morgan, so the biggest difference is, you know, after stream, setups start appearing. So you're gonna get pretty much every setup that comes along. If you are glued to the stream every day, which thumbs up if you are, you can obviously see them on the stream and trade them like that as well. Gap and trap. Yeah, this is the nasty area that we're in right now, so I am hands off. You don't like the ES, Fluky? I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all, actually. Especially with my style of trading with volume, and my confirmation techniques that I use. The ES, in that regard, actually makes it much easier for me. But I would say the ES makes you you really got to have patience in your trades. Yeah, Mike, so far the indicator is working great. Working really nice. do have a... Let me take a look at something. Oh yeah, nice. It does plot. One thing I was worried about was on the NQ footprint. So I've got these lines all my lines are set to global, just so that they show up on my footprint chart as well when I'm taking my trades. One concern I had maybe with the indicator for the initial balance was that it would not show on my footprint chart, but it does. Or you know what, maybe I have that on as a separate, I put that on as a separate indicator. So the footprint's got that same indicator on there. Okay, that makes sense. I wouldn't think that this would be a global line. All right, so they tapped into there. Probably going to see a little bit of a fight here. Let's see. Is it enough? So the next pocket is going to be the 25,860, which is pretty much where our IB high, initial IB high is set. There's a pocket there. Not a huge amount of volume right there. Nothing super crazy. Nothing enough for me to think that they would close out the auction already down at the lows here. $830s right here. This would be a natural spot for them to close out the auction of this 850 right at the 830s. So maybe they close the auction off here at the 830s and then they attack the 860s and 867 area. We'll see. See what happens here. GC's had, gold's had quite the free fall. Yeah, it's just not much right now. Where the NQ's sitting at, there's no interest. I mean, like I said, the interest right now, well, I already tapped this guy. I can get rid of him. The next interest is the 25,860s. And the 830s is where they would dump it off at. Pretty simple. So right now, they can easily, you know, open up an auction here at the 860s, 8 to the, let's say, the 70s. So in this 10-point range right here, grab liquidity there, and then close out the auction at the 830s, which really to the downside is the only unbalanced volume area that the market has to play around with or to conduct business at. So just to recap, guys, tiny setup on the NQ that, you know, risk to reward doesn't look that hot, obviously. What is that? 7 points of risk. But the TP1 is at 25,753. That's less than 4 points. That's garbage, in my opinion. But And that's what the volume's showing to me. That's what the setup's showing me. So, and then we do have another setup below it at the 25,733. But my concern here is, you know, we come back down to balance out this volume right here. We might want to stretch into this one, which I don't have a big problem with that, but I would have a big problem with it if I was taking this setup right here. You know, when you have two setups so close to each other, they're two pockets of volume that are sitting so close to each other. The market can easily just make that extra push, that extra run to grab what it needs from that volume pocket to balance it out and displace it somewhere else. So let's see if they make a run on this. There should be a fight here at the 860s. Obviously, a lot of stops sitting right here at the 860s. And then their final pocket would be at the 867. This circle right there. And then the area they would want to displace it down to would be the 25,830s. As of right now. So the ES is kind of stuck in between this two, in between these two pockets right here of unbalanced volume. Not making any runs right now. At least in a hurry, it's not. Let's see. Let's see the push here. There you go. There's the sweep. There's the sweep right to the 867s. So now let's see if they want to close off what they just conducted here. The most natural spot to me would be the 830s, which is where they would want to close this off at. Now, well, the 867s got defended really well, really quickly. 25,867, this pocket right here just got defended right back, so the sellers came right back in there. So they might want to retap into here. Let's see. Let's see if they got what they needed. Yeah, Key, you could scalp the NQ for 2 points, but either you're going in with some serious contract size or you're going to be taking... You got to be looking for 6 setups a day, you know, to get you to the bound that I think 10 to 12 points on the NQ is kind of the, for me, is the sweet spot on profit with the NQ. Or you increase your size, but then again, I wonder what kind of stop somebody that's scalping for 2 points on the NQ, what kind of stop they would have to have. Because if you're still going in with 10 points to stop, that's a tough. You have to have 5 winners to protect yourself from a loser. All right, we're like I said, they defended the 867s again. They could make a run here for the 875s. And just remember this 25,830 because as of right now, this is the only area I see them finishing off this auction at. All right, NQ. Now we got a little area here. this move to the upside. Let's see. Not the greatest. But I guess not the worst. Let's see here. Down to the 1. Uh-oh. What happened to my chart? See the data moving, but I don't see my chart moving. That was strange. Very strange. I get rid of this line. Alright, so maybe a quick little scalp here. Entry off the 25,849, targeting the 854 and 857. Smaller trade. Let's see, hold on. Let's see what the 849s are doing. So the 852 and 54, we're going to see a reaction. And the defense is coming in at the 45, so right here. Okay. I'd like to see the 849s come in a little bit stronger. So once it starts dancing here at TP2, I'm going to be monitoring the order book at the 849s to see if they start to kind of step in, which they kind of are now. The 850s. All right. Doesn't look decent. Doesn't look too bad. And I don't mind. I don't mind this making a push higher at all, to be honest with you. I don't mind this at all, and then coming right back down into our area here. Get rid of this high volume area. This high volume area doesn't really bother me anymore. Well, I'll keep this up there just so you guys can remember the 830s. He doesn't use a stop. Okay. It's a risky proposition, but you're going to probably have an extremely high win rate. I'd hate to see his losses. That's the problem. I mean, you might be able to achieve a 95% win rate on 2 points, but that one dagger you get hurts. But everybody's got a way to trade. Everybody's got a way to figure out the markets. All right, nice little sweep down to the 857s. Order, I'm sorry, another thing I should have let you guys know. Order entry might look a little bit different here today. I'm just going off the regular Ninja Trader chart trader, so I'm not going to have all the fancy labels like we did on Friday. I'm just testing something out here. I want to see the speed of my entry. Just want to compare a few things to last week. $845s, $850s. All right, doesn't look too bad. What did we get here? Tap into it. So we missed our entry there by a point, guys. So be very careful here. Could want to sweep those 45s. So there was, for those with a resting limit order, you already got TP1. No footprint confirmation for me. There you go. There was TP1 and TP2 with just a resting limit order. Didn't get a confirmation for myself personally. You know, they had a good defense right here at the 45s that they could have probably tapped into, but great setup. I don't know how much drawdown that is. 2 ticks. 2 ticks of drawdown. Not bad. Anybody make some money? It's a winner. Good job. Let's take a screenshot of this guy. And then let me screenshot my footprint confirmation, or my footprint. What would it look like on here? This is the entry. Nice shot, Patty. 400 bucks. Yeah, it took 2 micros, barely any drawdown on that. Yeah, on my chart, it looks like maybe 2 ticks of drawdown. Could be off, but I think that's what I see. No, I run a 20 range footprint chart, so 5 points or 20 ticks. All right. I guess we could take a look at the ES here real quick. It's a nice TP1, TP2 for those that had the resting limit orders in there. Get rid of that guy. Now we could also take a look at the 830s. I'm sorry, not the 830s. Where was the setup that I... Oh no, that's down here. We still got a ways to go. We got a ways to go to get down to this possible play here. Probably have the IB play come in before that. Good job, Keith. Winner, winner. Great job. Let's take a look at the ES real fast here. Doop, 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 doop. Ooh. All right, this is one to be very careful with. Extremely careful with. I don't even know if I should map this one out for you guys because this one could be a doozy. But I'm going to explain to you what I see. Oh, that's not right. TP, not entry. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Let's see. Load that up as an entry. And then, all right, so sorry, let me make it easier on you guys there. Stop loss. TP. All right, let's explain this little crazy right, now let me just really quickly see what the 71s 70s are getting strong right here. All right, guys, so this is the issue with this one that I see. Ah, crap, let me jump down to the 1 minute. Hopefully this doesn't cause a disaster. Okay, it does not. Good job. Good job, charts. Oh, this looks ridiculous. All right, what we're looking at. We're on the ES. What I see on a setup would be an entry to go long at the 68.71s. But you do have a very high volume area right below it at the 68.70s, so we could definitely tap into that. But we also have a lot of stops sitting right here, and right here. So this stop loss area is going to be a very, very high probability sweep. Okay. Now, the only reason why it's even on the chart at this point, this would be maybe a B setup, B minus setup, is because we do have a very big level of defense at the 70s. Okay. But sometimes the market just has that inertia that they wipe this out and then they just do that final tap into orders. And that's why this is kind of, I'm grading this like a B setup right now. But all the other characteristics of the trade look really nice. So there's that. There is that. And I know this is going to confuse many people as to, Rob, what's this white line right here? This is just the area that I knew that the market's going to want to close out an auction down here. So it's going to probably make a fight all the way down to this 68.70s. On the NQ, you guys remember the 25.830s? I mean, that's exactly what the market's coming after. It's just closing off the auction right here and displacing their business right at the 85.30s. Again, the market does this every single day. It's very, very, very repetitive. It's actually the only way the market moves. Big absorption. right there. Okay, so now for them, the 800s. The 800s, which is going to be right above here, very close to our IB, initial IB low, is their next pocket. So I can wipe this guy off. They've already done what they needed to do. Keep this on the ES. So just to recap, we took, I didn't take the trade, but mapped out a setup there on the NQ for TP1 and TP2. Very little drawdown. Really nice trade. All right, guys, give me 1 minute. I'll be right back. Not gonna lie, the wifey made a really nice breakfast sandwich for me. Usually eat around 7, but that was worth the wait. All right, so just a little recap. Give you guys a nice setup there on the NQ. Let's pull it up here. So this is the first setup of the morning, right at the 25,849. Like I said, about 2 ticks of drawdown there, which is definitely within the acceptable range. I usually give myself about 2 to 3 points in the NQ. TP1, TP2 hit. We got a little setup here mapped out on the ES. Looking like a B setup right now, but again, if this 6870s gets even stronger, could very easily turn into an AA minus setup. Sellers are very strong right above here. A lot of pressure from the top side. Morning, Krypton. So remember, areas that the market right now is interested in on the ES. It's going to be these 90s to 92s. Right here. And then the 6870 right here. Pretty much right below our entry. Got about 4 minutes for the NQIB to be set. With my new handy dandy indicator. Let's see what the NQ is looking like. $820s. It could be a combination of stops. So we're pretty much sitting right in the middle of initial balance. The dead zone. Okay, yeah, you got a very high likelihood of obviously closing up gaps from especially Sundays overnights, but they don't have to. They don't have to. The market's eventually it will, but they don't have to do it anytime soon. The market's got enough to play around for right now. Nice strong push there. Now I can tell you right now, if we sweep the IB highs here, you know, then you could possibly start to look for a setup right in this region right here. A lot of volume just left unbalanced there. But we still need to make a big push to the upside for this to be in play. I'd like to see it break some structure right here, up here, and this is where the juicy, that's where the juicy volume is sitting at. All right, let's switch over to the NQ trading screen. Looks like they're making a strong push for the IB here. Let's see. Out of coffee. That's never good. All right, let's see them make this push here. Well, I need the 75s. I definitely need them. Let's see here. They were kind of nasty to us on Friday. Missing IBs by like a point or two on both sides. But then finally sweeping the IB high on Friday. It was maybe in, I don't know, maybe around 11 o'clock. If I recall correctly. I was able to capture my 15 points. Don't do this again. Very similar map to Friday's IB high and low. So I'm gonna guess is about 3 points. Yep, 2.5 points. Let's see here. Nora, I'll answer your question in a little bit here. Let me just put my focus here on this IB. All right. Still took a long time. Still took a very long time there, in my opinion. Okay, so that was my test there. Let's see now what happens here. We got a decent footprint confirmation. 72 red footprint candle, green delta, 72. I like it. We'll see. Above us, the 87s. So maybe I can... Kind of stinks because there is a big pocket right here, right at the 87s. But I would like to take a... I'd like to take a winner on stream on the IB because I'm only taking one and I got tapped out by a point. And I'm a little worried about that happening right now. So I might just increase my risk just a tad here. Just to afford this 87 to 90 pocket. We'll see what happens. So easy target would be the 25,865. To me, that would be an easy target. Which would be That's only about 8 points. But that seems like a very, very easy target. The 65s. You know, and I kind of like easy. Might be able to squeak out a little bit more. Maybe like the 63s. So I'm just going off of where they need to balance off here, guys. But would have liked to see a stronger push, especially with the amount of risk that I got put on here. Don't like the amount of risk that I have. So they could very easily make a push right here. This is an area, the 87s is a big, strong area for them to tap into. And I took on that. I kind of knew that risk going into it, so we'll see. This is my level of defense right there. I didn't really want to tap into it, but we just did. So now an area that they got to balance out, it would be back to the 78s, which was right above my entry. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help me much. And then after that, it's the 65s. But just a lot of volume sitting up right above us right now. And that is a big concern of mine. Big concern. All right, so they just kind of tapped into that first area. Let's see if they can make a push here. So I would see some resistance right there on the 77, 78, which is where we got it, right there, the 78. Let's see. Let's see if they can balance this out here before tapping me out here. It's a tough proposition. A lot of juicy volume sitting above me. And volume now goes all the way up to the 900s, so the 25 900s. So there's a lot sitting above us. Very easily accessible to the market. All right, so they've already kind of balanced this out. So the next available rebalancing would be at the 65s, which is where I've got, obviously, my TP set. All right, this next test is going to be dicey here, because the next test is going to be around that 88, 89, which is really damn close to my stop. So any little sweep there could tag me out. But again, I assumed the risk going into it. I knew this was a possibility. All right, I'm going to go refill my coffee. I'll walk away from the trade a little bit and just let it play out. Well, coffee trick didn't work out so well. Sometimes when you walk away, you come back. So the 90s is the next area, guys, and that's way too close to my stop. You know, after that, I'd have to take my stop up above the 900s, and there's no way I'm taking on that kind of risk. Not for this little of a reward. You gotta preserve capital at some point. But the longer it stays in this little area here, the more I don't like it, just because of the fact that they can just tap into that 90 really quickly. (9:30) Central Time, same thing as 10:30 Central Time. Eastern Time, I should say. All right, NQ, let's just do what you got to do, one way or the other. All right, here's the push. These the 890s is definitely what they want to tap into. Right there's the tap. So this would be my only level of defense right there. And they might want to come after me here. There you go. After this, it's the 900s. That's the next push. And the only area that they've got to rebalance on the downside is my TP, the 65s. So at least I got that working for me, but the sweep could very easily come before the final push. And buyers are pretty strong still. I don't like it. There you go. Don't do the sweep here. Don't do the sweep here. Don't do the sweep here. You gotta be shitting me. You gotta be shitting me. I guess that was the last order they needed. So my area was right at the 65s. I guess my orders was the last one they needed. And I'm joking, but so my thought process here was, you know, your absolute best level defense was above the 900s, but that risk was just not in my tolerance. Not for this target. does get hard to watch when you know where they're going. Let's see what the high of that one was. 92. That was right to my stop, right to the tick. Exactly the 92s. Actually, yeah, 92 exactly on the dot. So could I jump into a trade here? Yes, I could, because I know the 65s definitely is what they want. Absolutely makes the most sense. But do I put myself in that position? Didn't even give me a chance there. Let's see. A little bounce here. Wouldn't be so terrible. They still left this open. May have given me an opportunity here. Let's see. I'll take another stab at it. Unfortunate. This one's not the greatest. And where do I put my stop? Where do I put my stop? Maybe the 82s? Maybe the 82s? Hopefully I don't need to use it, but I mean the 65s is the easiest and closest place for them to take it. So I came about a tick or two away. You're kidding me, right? Right at the tick. Right at the tick. There you go. Okay. So at least we got something there. I mean, I knew that they had to balance out the 865, so that helps out the program a little bit. All right, so it doesn't stink too bad. So bad. I just burned the shit out of my lip. Damn. All right, we can get rid of this guy. All right, now let's see what's going on over here. And just so I think everybody can see it, but this was my confirmation right here, guys. Right here. Red footprint candle, positive delta. Entry was right below that footprint confirmation. And just targeting the 65s, which was my original target that we got knocked out by a tick. So, you know, that absolutely blows. And then that's twice. I think that's twice now. On Friday, I got tagged out of the IB by a point. This one was an actual tick. So, again, the setups are right. You know, where they want to go, I can see. And my commentary to what the possible risk was, which I was willing to assume was the was that pocket sitting at the 87s with a little mini sweep there. Sorry, I didn't show you guys the footprint confirmation. This is it right here. So this is where I got back into that trade. Red footprint candle, positive delta. Not the greatest positive delta, but again, it had already kind of churned through a lot of volume there. But that played out really nice. All right. So let me take a screenshot of this guy just so I can add to my journal. Anybody get in on that re-entry there? I don't blame you if you didn't, but don't blame you if you didn't. Nothing on the NQ. Nothing on. Oh, we still got this little. Got this play on the ES that now looks very interesting. Good job, Morgan. Man, that was unfortunate. Right to the tick. So you kind of have to balance out your risk. You know, I'm all about capital preservation, so I already assumed a bigger risk right off the bat, just because of what the order book was showing me. I wanted to put myself behind some defense. And the ultimate defense would have been that 900 mark, but that's just not the best. It's not the best risk there. I came really close to sweeping this area at the 6890s. Well, they practically tapped into it. It's a tick off. So they tapped into what I thought they would need to tap into. Now for the ES. '80s. Wait, let me take a look at this setup here again. On the 70s. Not the best volume stacking up here right now. So we're gonna really have to monitor this one once we start dancing around TP2. As far as the NQ, there's just nothing happening right here. There's nothing happening. And this move right here got mitigated by this sweep right here. So there's nothing super high interest there. You know, unfortunately on the NQ, we're gonna have to probably wait till we get down here. All right, let me just update my journal here real quick. Now I'm looking at a red day, first red day this month. Let's see. I can blame it by a tick. All right, so I'll show you guys my month so far. This is just on my 2 cash accounts. Green all month. 5 trades, so we took 2 trades on Friday, and then I took that one IB trade on my Iron Beam account. So that's there. Now this one's gonna come up red once it sinks. So I'm gonna have to battle out of that one or accept my loss, which I'm perfectly happy doing as well. I was just trying to avoid a red day on my chart. All right, let's do a sync here. Let's see if this crap works. Okay, 4 out of 4 executions. That's good. Come on. All right. Back to the dashboard. So went up from 3,000 on the month, now up 2,500, and there's the red day. There's a red day. But I'm happy at least bounced back there on that retest. And my thought process was pretty much spot on. So, I mean, that's how I kind of have to grade my trade. So I'll do that journaling here off to the side. And let's see if we can find something else here. Yes, Morgan. Good job, Keith. At least the 2200 looks a lot better than the, what was it, 45? I thought I looked at it, but I thought maybe it was around 4,500. So that looks a little better. But again, don't force anything here. I could care less about one loss. The market will do that. I care more about the initial setup, what I was thinking, how things play out. Who asked me about the unbalanced? Nor. So unbalanced volume, when I say that, and I say it a lot, it's let me see if I can find something here, maybe on the NQ. So right here, you know, when you've got a huge move, okay, especially a move that breaks structure. Now, why is breaking structure so important? Because you're breaking an area that is also unbalanced, okay? That's what a lot of people don't understand, is that, excuse me, when you break an area or you break structure, you're typically breaking an area that is unbalanced, meaning that, you know, this is where the market wants to play. There's some good amount of orders there, okay? And then when you make this strong move to the upside, you leave an unbalanced volume area to the downside, or to where the origination of it is at. And you can see how it coincides perfectly with the volume profile right here. That's where you're always going to get your pushes out to the right. Now, volume profile here looks really small because we're in uncharted territory, so this is just pretty much all recent price action that's been happening here. That's why this volume profile here looks much different than down here, where we've been sitting at for a long period of time. And that's what I look for. So on my TP, for instance, you know, I kept saying that the 65s was the area that they wanted to tap into, which, let's see, 68. Where did they tap into? This is, I think this is where I closed out at 65. Yeah, 60. Maybe it didn't right there, but this was the area that, and you've got to drop down to the lower time frame and just to find the exact same thing. Where did it break structure at? Where is their volume sitting? How's the order book look at the 65s? And then you can start to visualize very easily what unbalanced volume means, or at least what it means to me. Yeah, Sean, I was thinking about the watermarks on the charts. If you're still on, if you're still watching, I was thinking about it. You know, the default one with Ninja is pretty terrible because it just pops it. There's not much customization you can do to it, and I really like keeping my charts clean. So I have been thinking of it. I'm gonna see maybe if there's something that I can put up to the side like this already. This label up here. Let me just knock this one off. like a lot of resources are being used there. I'm not sure what why this little simple task is taking so long. Be back in 2 seconds. Let's measure something here. Sorry about that. Let's measure this out here. 16 and a quarter. So just taking that resting limit order right there would have tagged you out by a point. And another thing, I mean, granted, it's not a watermark, but just the labels on the chart, 68.90, 25.875, hopefully gives you guys an indication of what chart I'm looking at, but I understand it would look... Let me get rid of this guy. I tapped that already. No, they didn't, actually. They did not. I missed it by a tick, and there is a no. Oh, this is interesting. 890s. Buyers are stacked pretty good. Sellers are stacked pretty good. We are in a very fair value area right here. I wouldn't be surprised if this is point of control right now. So I will keep this guy up here. All right, let's see what we got going down here. Static 15. Yeah, that's my ATM strategy for the IB trade is always at 15.15. I very, very rarely move my stop from that 15 point. Today I did. And I just kind of had to make a dynamic adjustment there based on what I saw on the charts. And I was off by a tick on my chart, so that kind of stunk. But yeah, 15 points. It's a pretty easy target, even though this is twice now I take the IB trade on stream, and I take an initial loss there. So not happy about that. But I accept it, and I move on. Yeah, Stevenson, I trade my mechanical strategies every day. They're on autopilot on my setup upstairs. All right, let's take a look and see what the ES wants. I like that it really likes the 70s. I don't like that. Don't like that we have nothing underneath it. So I think, again, this is just me playing out the trade in my head. I'm okay with a tap into our entry at 68.71, making a push for the 70s. So about a point and what would that be? About 5 ticks of drawdown, 6 ticks of drawdown, which is acceptable for me on the ES. And then to ride to TP1. That's what I have. That's how I have the trade played out in my head. What I don't like, and which what I'm hoping for, is like the 68s. 68s to start coming in strong, which would kind of give me that last level. I mean, you guys saw it on the NQ. I said that, that was my last level of defense, and it was. Unfortunately, I was off by a tick, though. Mike, I forgot what we were even talking about for you to be able to write an indicator for me, but I forgot what we were talking about there. All right, ES is just kind of sitting around here. So I'll give a recap of everything we've been fighting for here this morning. Mapped out a real nice setup on the NQ for TP1, TP2. I missed that trade, but that was beauty when barely any drawdown. Took a loss on my IB short. Got tapped out by a tick. And then re-entered, and I think I was able to get about 8.5 points there on the NQ. And that's where we currently sit. If you haven't, please leave a like on the stream. I appreciate it very much. If you're thinking about getting funded, use code TraderRob. Let's see what the accounts look like today. So cash, I am currently down 210 and 205, so 413 on my two cash accounts combined. And pretty much, why is, so for some reason my Tradeify is only down 216. I have no idea why it's down that low. Actually, yeah, no, that's right, actually. The 216 is right. But the take profit, the funding ticks are all down 400. Which that doesn't make any sense. That seems really high. Bottom line, we gotta hopefully find a winner here. What's the NQ? Man, the NQ's doing nothing. So right now on the NQ, the only thing that I see is it one in these 900s. That's the next area that it's going to want. And then for the ES, it's still that 6890s. Above it, there's not much besides the 6900s. That seems to always be a popular spot. Should be a decent fight here on the NQ. So just to look at it, just to look at it, you know what? Let me get this off here for a second. Let me clean up the labels. Forgot to do that. Oh, here's the fight that I was going to say. All right, now let's jump here. I'd be really interested to see what your footprint does here at the 25 900s once it crosses through. And then conversely on the ES, well, you can't see the ES here, but you'd be really interested to see what the ES does at the 6890s. There's just not much we can do anything in this area right here. I will say on the NQ, this entry we've got mapped here, or let's just say the stop loss right here at 25,742. This is the biggest area right now that I see on the NQ that needs to get rebalanced. Now I know it's a big push to the downside there. So very repeatable play. Right now they've got a ton of volume sitting right up here from the 25 900s to about the 902s, maybe 905s. And then you could see a very big push to balance all that out, to close out that auction down here. Again, that would be a real big play to the downside. So we might need a catalyst for that. Yeah, Morgan, it's pretty static for the 15 point brackets. Very rarely do I adjust them. I might adjust sometimes on my TP just based on what I see on areas of unbalanced volume, but the 15 points seems to be a pretty safe bet. Come on, NQ. You know you need the 900s. Just take it. Let's be done with it. Let's have some movement. Let's have some action here. Don't forget to hit the like button on the stream, guys. Appreciate it. So on this ES trade, wouldn't be surprised if we see this around 11:30 ish. This just seems to be in a very fair value area that we're sitting in currently. They need to make a push to the 68.90s. Displace, hopefully finish off an auction right here. And the same thing for the NQ. So staying patient. What happened to the music? I like this one. Oh, the market's lulling people to sleep right now. For there to be any sort of action, it needs the 900s. All right, we're getting a little movement here. All right, let me just jump down to the lower time frame just to see what's occurring. Yes, is garbage. And let's see. Nada. We gotta see this hit the 900s. If we can get a strong move above the 900s, then we've got a possible area right here that we can target. This is what the market needed to do. So now let's see how it reacts. It's a good place to look at the footprint chart. You see a lot of really good clues here. So far, nothing interesting there. Just absorbing. 900s are still stacked pretty strong. Still absorbing. I'll be really interested to see if the sellers now step in and really defend this 900. Okay. Starting to tap in. Big one, big absorption. That just took everything out. Let's now see what happens here. They completely took that roadblock out. You can see the footprint chart. 140 contracts right there. Let's see. You know, if this closes as a red candle, you could make a very, very good play to the downside. And they would be targeting the 880s. They would be targeting this right here, 880s. So you got a really nice footprint confirmation there. And the target here would be the 880s. Come on. Dummy. So they just conducted their auction right here. And now they can displace right there at the 800s. You did get a really nice footprint confirmation right here. I'll be interested here. Not me personally for a trade, but this is an area where I could see a short being in play. Wow, that was really weird. Yeah, so sellers stepping in, especially on the ES. NQ's not so much. So this is now the area for the ES where they need to This is where they're doing their business. A lot of absorption, a lot of buyers taking up. Let's see here. So the NQ's first stop would be at the 900s. That would be their first easy stop, and then they can finish out their auction at the 880s. I mean, above it, you got the 907s, but I don't know. I think they've done enough here. But they could tap into the 907s and then make their way to the 880s. Let's see. Tap of the 907, 908. That would be very logical. There's not much more. There's not much more else onto the top side that they're interested in. This is where they can do their business, right here at the 880s. Actually, I'm sorry. They could stop at the 90s to conduct, but they're going to finish everything off. They're going to close it out at the 880s. Big fight. Big fight right here. A lot of business being conducted right here. Yeah, on a risk to reward trade. Taking a short right here with the 907s being your last level of defense isn't the dumbest idea in the world. As far as risk to reward, they tap into the 907s right here. Closer you get to the 907s, the better your risk to reward trade would be on that one. But again, that's not my style of trading. But I just see what I see. Did they tap? Nope, 905s. Like I said, this would be a great risk to reward on a short, in my opinion. The ES is kind of similar, where now the new line in the sand, guess you can make a point for the 95s. And this would stretch up to about right here. That's it. There's nothing else. And their easiest place to dump would be right here. All right, let's see if they do what I think they're going to do. Remember, first stop would be the 890s. That's their first stop. Their ultimate stop would be the 880s. This would be a great place for them to conduct their auction right here. The 890s would be first, then the 880s. All right, first stop, 890s. As far as setups are concerned, on the NQ, we got nothing until we get down to the 25,749. We obviously got IB low that we have in between there. Nothing right here. This is just garbage town right now. And on the ES, B setup right now, along at the 6871 and a quarter, targeting the 6874 and then the 76s. But I would like to see 70s are defended really well. So I like the entry here at the 6871. I'd just like to see a little bit more. We might not need to see a little bit more. This looks pretty decent right now. This looks like a decent setup. Now we just got to get there. Or be patient. was your classic sweep right there. There ain't much sitting above here anymore. So they just took out the 907s right there, right to about the 910s. Just don't see much. I don't see much up to the top side anymore. All the good stuff is right here. Actually, the 890s and the 880s. And that's why, in my opinion, just trading direction by itself is just very difficult. I'd rather trade from areas that have been left unbalanced. The setups are just so much cleaner and quicker. The ES is just surrounded. The ES is in a wedge that just... I can't. This could be a rangy day at this point. Key, which trade did you take? Oh, maybe the NQ short. And now I see that we're looking for the 888s. I'd say you probably had a pretty tight stop on that one because you're probably the 907s. 907s was the area of defense. Tapped right into the 910s. Still a really nice risk to reward trade there on a short. Just because this is the most likely area. 890. I think you're probably about 2 points off of that. Alright. I can see your thinking there. Well, guys, not much going on here. I'm 45, so I think I might call it a day. First red day on stream. A little unfortunate, but that's the way trading happens sometimes. First setup on the NQ hit TP1, TP2, so I know a bunch of you guys got that one, which is great. Second IB trade, we got stopped out there by right to the tick, which that one hurt probably the most. I was able to get into a re-entry and took it for about 8.5 points. So currently down 22.40, which I don't like to see. And I'm staring the first red day of October in the face. But that's okay. I'm not gonna push it. Hit the like on the stream. I'll see you guys here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. And let me just go over the setups that we currently have mapped out on the ES along at the on the NQ along at the 25,749. Really small targets. I know this is just what I saw right from the get-go. 753 and 756. Not the prettiest thing in the world. We still do have IB low, so I'll be looking at that if that comes into play before I go off to work. And then on the ES, mapped out a really, I think now a pretty nice setup at an entry at the 68.71, targeting the 74 and the 76. Had a lot of fun with you guys today. I know it was a little bit boring. Not the greatest price action here this morning, but that's what the market wants to do.